Why is WWE just so mid right now? Now the year is 2023, Vince McMahon is mostly out of the picture, and Triple H has full control of WWE creative. The business is booming as Triple H inherited a semi-hot product, and with angles such as the Bloodline story in full effect, Triple H can now sprinkle his creative genius on the product to push WWE right into the new era. This is, for the most part, exactly what happened. Triple H changed WWE forever. Talent were happy, the bizarre archaic rules that McMahon had implemented had been eradicated, and now WWE was in a position to truly prosper. Between 2023 and 2024, WWE delivered some of their best shows ever. WrestleMania 39 and 40 stood out as fan favorites, and some of the editions of Raw, especially with the ones featuring The Rock and Roman Reigns, were incredible television. Unfortunately, in 2025, something has really gone wrong. We are in a position where fans are consistently complaining about the product on television, and attendance and ratings are beginning to slip. Things have become so drastic that we have fans actively pushing for Triple H to be replaced. Whilst the suggestion is way too far, it's understandable why fans are angry, and it's time that someone assessed where this falloff has come from and what WWE can do to put things back on track. The takeover. In the second half of 2023, TKO would take over WWE. This was a smart move from the group known as Endeavor, as they own both WWE and UFC, and it makes logical sense to own two companies in a similar realm. Fans didn't know what to make of TKO at first. This was the first time that WWE were going to be controlled by someone other than Vince McMahon or Triple H, and there was legitimate concern that TKO were going to change everything that made WWE special in the first place. There was significant concern when Vince McMahon was suddenly back in the picture and even took part in media appearances promoting the buyout. Thankfully, due to McMahon's various scandals, he was eventually removed, which was without a doubt the right move, as the idea of McMahon taking orders from TKO executives is a laughable scenario, and there would have been a fallout in approximately 3 hours. At first, TKO left Triple H alone, and they were right to do this. WWE were delivering record numbers across the board, and to interfere in this in any way would have been a bad business practice, as it was also made clear that the creative aspects, for the most part, were being left alone by the company. The company would mainly have a say in the finances of WWE, rather than the output that is seen on screen. However, just a few months in, the problems began to surface, and the financial obsession of TKO came to the forefront, and WWE quickly turned from a pro wrestling company into a pro wrestling company that has existed to plug sponsors and receive celebrity endorsements. The greed. And for the majority of 2025, TKO has been called out for the way they've handled WWE. From a revenue perspective, all they care about are numbers, and whilst they are a business, they don't seem to grasp how pro wrestling works. Premium live events, or pay-per-views as they were once known, were affordable events for families. Now attending a PLE, even a Big Four, requires an astronomical payment that fans have to save for months in advance. When it comes to WrestleMania, the shows have always been a once-in-a-lifetime event. However, simply attending the show was mostly affordable, and it was only the ultra-premium seats that would cost fans a small fortune. Now, WrestleMania tickets are in their thousands, and with the show being 2 nights, fans are forced to buy 2 distinct tickets. Even WWE great Randy Orton was stunned to find out just how much fans were paying for their tickets. And if a multi-million-dollar talent is questioning the price model, then surely something is wrong. But it's not just the fans who have called out WWE for this, as famous actor Paul Hauser from the 2025 version of the Fantastic Four had this to say during an interview with TMZ. Times are tougher than they used to be, but the prices are going up. There's no real humanity from a corporate perspective. To me, that's like Mr. Potter in It's a Wonderful Life. You're getting greedy, ugly. You're being ugly by doing that. Now, whenever a celebrity of any kind mentions WWE, they're quick to soundbite the clip or comment, but this is one comment that did make it onto WWE's social media pages. There is hope from fans that TKO are going to realize that shows are too expensive. However, in an alarming comment in a recent conference, TKO Chief Operating Officer Mark Shapiro had this to say in relation to their pricing model. We know we have a lot of room there because Vince McMahon was primarily pricing tickets for families and wasn't totally focused on maximizing the opportunity there. Now that we've seen what we could do with UFC, we're replicating that in terms of ticket yield and holding back in advance sales when it comes to on location on WWE's side, and it's working out really well. The reaction to these comments on social media was palpable, and fans and wrestling critics were stunned that these words came out of his mouth. There are so many things wrong with the comments, and to summarize, taking aim at McMahon for pricing tickets so that families can attend the show isn't the insult that Shapiro thinks it is. WWE since 2008 has been a PG presentation, and families were WWE's main demographic. Pricing tickets so families can attend made perfect business sense, and Shapiro is acting like WWE was on the verge of going bankrupt with this practice. It wasn't, and it was a company that was thriving due to this pricing strategy. It's also worth noting that during McMahon's final few years running WWE, the WWE product wasn't exactly met with positive reviews from fans, and the fact that they were still able to make staggering profits was due to ticket prices remaining steady, meaning that even if fans attended a poor show, it hadn't cost them a life-changing amount of money. The comments also raised the question of if tickets aren't aimed at families, who is the WWE product actually aimed at? As things stand, WWE is still a PG product, so who exactly is their target audience here? The comments made no sense and come from a place of total greed and a lack of understanding of WWE's core audience. The fact that Shapiro is confident enough about the quality of the WWE product to say that they can increase prices is crazy. 2025 has without a doubt been the worst year since the TKO takeover, and they're lucky to still be riding the initial boom as the 2025 product simply isn't in a position to be increasing prices for events. It's totally nonsensical and could easily backfire. WWE could soon be back in a position where arenas are half empty. In fact, for a number of TV dates this year, there has been a significant dip in attendance. Most notably, according to WrestleTix on X, WWE had just over 7,000 fans in attendance for last Friday's SmackDown. It's not bad by any means, however, it was also revealed that WWE held a show in the same arena back in February this year, and that particular show was a Raw show that attracted 12,000 fans. This means that between February and October this year, there has been a major drop-off. Triple H versus the fans. As something has changed in Triple H's approach to WWE in 2025. During 2023 and 2024, it was apparent that WWE was his life, but it's not clear if that's the case anymore. Triple H spent his media duties on the road to WrestleMania 41 bashing fans at any chance he could get. He took aim at the internet wrestling community, specifically fans on X making suggestions for the show. This was ironic as it's been proven time and time again that he's active on X and he even makes numerous changes to the WWE product thanks to fan feedback on the platform. The game even had the nerve to state that fans on the internet have no influence on the direction of the product. This was totally laughable, as last year, the social media backlash, particularly on YouTube to The Rock taking Cody Rhodes' WrestleMania spot, led to one of the biggest pivots in WWE history. Triple H could easily embrace the internet wrestling fans, as these are the die-hard fans that never go away, and alienating them just doesn't make any sense. These are the fans that attend the shows, these are the fans that buy the lifeless, overpriced merchandise, these are the fans that live and breathe WWE and ultimately just want the product to be better. Is that so bad? Creative chaos. But the creative direction of WWE over the past 12 months has been insanely weak. Long-term storylines such as CM Punk vs Seth Rollins and Rhea Ripley vs Liv Morgan have failed to land, and Triple H's approach to a long-term storyline is just spamming the feud over and over again, and Punk is even making jokes about how long his feud with Seth Rollins is going on, which isn't a great sign. To his credit, the game has managed to mostly nail the Punk vs Drew McIntyre feud, but even here, it was far from perfect, as fans question why McIntyre needed to win Money in the Bank. On WWE TV currently, there is a distinct lack of engaging storylines. Whilst Raw certainly has some strong, potentially great storylines, SmackDown right now is on life support. SmackDown's main storyline is focused on Randy Orton looking at the WWE title. That's literally it. Is that the best they can come up with? They've managed to get complacent, and complacency when you're doing well as a business is only ever going to go one way. A drop in ratings and a drop in attendance. In September on the road to WrestlePalooza, the game was accused of no longer caring about WWE. WrestlePalooza was being promoted by Triple H and TKO bosses as an event that was going to be as big as WrestleMania or SummerSlam, which was a very bold claim. Despite this, it surfaced that one of the key editions of Raw before the PLE, Triple H actually missed the show in favor of filming Kill Tony for Netflix. If this wasn't bad enough, the game revealed the next day that he had zero idea that a contract signing didn't take place on the show, and he hadn't even bothered to watch it. Why is the head of WWE Creative not watching his own show? But speaking of WrestlePalooza, the show acted as a masterclass for everything wrong with WWE in 2025. They would have Brock Lesnar squash John Cena in one of Cena's final matches, a match outcome that ultimately goes nowhere as the two are never wrestling ever again. They would also deliver a main event between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre that was completely lifeless, and some labeled it as a house show matchup. Triple H promised surprises for the show, and the only surprise we got was Stephanie McMahon being announced for the 2026 Hall of Fame. It was a nice moment, but was this really something to promote as a major surprise? WWE and Triple H have become utterly obsessed with viral moments. The shows have stopped becoming about creating memorable storylines and delivering magnificent pro wrestling matches. They just want that 5-second clip that can be shared on TikTok. But speaking of unhealthy obsessions, WWE since TKO took over has become obsessed with celebrity endorsements. Now granted, celebrities have always been involved in WWE, but they haven't to this extent. The promo video for the first ever show on ESPN featured names such as Snoop Dogg as one of the first people seen on the video. Snoop isn't even a wrestler, and he was never even going to appear on the show, so why did they show him? Are WWE trying to trick non-wrestling fans into tuning into the product? WWE has names such as John Cena on the roster, and they made the executive call that names such as Jelly Roll and Snoop Dogg were going to draw in a bigger audience than one of the biggest names in the world right now. Just every single decision this year has been a total head-scratcher. Missed opportunity. But John Cena's final active year in WWE was without a doubt the biggest missed opportunity since TKO took over. Cena gave WWE a plethora of dates that he could work, and he was going to be available for every single PLE in 2025. This is huge when you consider how busy John Cena is in real life. Thanks mainly to a pivot, Triple H decided to turn Cena heel at Elimination Chamber, and although the moment was magic, the disappearance of The Rock, who was a key part in the angle, made things fall apart very quickly. Cena had to try to justify the heel turn in The Rock's absence, and despite him trying his very best, the reasoning just didn't land, and the fans wanted to cheer for the man during his final few appearances. Cena would then win the title from Cody Rhodes in the main event of WrestleMania, and to say that this was one of the worst WrestleMania main events of all time wouldn't be hyperbolic. The match was slow and awkward, and WWE would book Travis Scott, a non-wrestler, to be presented as the difference maker in the match. It was a horrendously executed match, and even Rhodes had to address the backlash to the match down the road, as even he knew everyone involved dropped the ball. Cena would then engage in feuds with the likes of Randy Orton and CM Punk, but these nostalgic feuds did little to generate excitement. He would also have a feud with R-Truth and join forces with Logan Paul, two things that weren't on the wish list of fans at the very start of the calendar year. But just before SummerSlam 2025, WWE just said screw it, and they decided to have Cena turn babyface again out of nowhere. Cena basically retconned the entire heel run, and it was like the heel run had never happened. On the post-Clash in Paris show, Cena labeled a heel turn as a losing battle, and the face turn needed to happen. It got to a point where Cena versus Randy, you start hearing this, Cena versus Punk in Saudi, and you start hearing the noise. Cena Cody WrestleMania, Cena Cody SummerSlam, it changes. Sometimes you can make bold and brave new moves, but going against this body of energy is a losing battle. So sometimes you just gotta listen and pivot, change course, and I'll say it's quite nice to stay in the middle of the ring and say hi to familiar faces. Now, a feature-length documentary could be produced when it comes to this total failure of a heel run. Hopefully WWE will execute the last few months of Cena's run perfectly, and at least WWE had Cena face AJ Styles at Crown Jewel, so things are looking positive. Well, on paper at least. One of the things that Cena's final run has been brought to the limelight is Triple H's struggle with the truth. He stated numerous times in 2025 that Cena is picking his final opponents, and Cena has outright denied this. The game even had the nerve to try and reposition the heat WWE received for bringing back Brock Lesnar, and putting it on Cena by claiming that Cena wanted to work with Lesnar, but Cena made it clear a few days later that that wasn't the case. Why would Triple H lie about this over and over? Was he trying to make his creative failure seem like it was all Cena's fault? It certainly seemed that way. And a soulless product. If there's one word to sum up the state of the WWE product right now, it's soulless. Everything feels flat. There's a lack of engaging storylines, and it's almost as if WWE are on autopilot. There's been a ton of criticism when it comes to how WWE presents their major shows. Most PLEs have 5 or 6 matches, and this means that titles such as the Women's US title and the World Tag titles are rarely featured. In fact, the Women's US title has never been defended on a PLE, and WWE's insistence on 5 or 6 matches on a PLE card is coming as a huge detriment to the credibility of a number of titles. The obvious reason as to why the shows have such few matches is because WWE now has a ton of sponsors, and they have commercials for just about everything. Fans were even stunned when actual commercials began to play after matches during WrestlePalooza. This is supposed to be the equivalent of a pay-per-view. Imagine commercials during a WrestleMania a decade ago, and it simply wouldn't happen. Fans are realizing that if a match is on a PLE match card, it's usually due to them having a direct sponsor in mind. This was seen with the New Days versus the Viking Raiders at WrestleMania to plug the mobile game Clash of Clans. Another contributing factor into the soulless nature of WWE is the way the shows look. For virtually every PLE outside of Mania, they just use the standard LED screen. For some reason, they would deliver a special set for Clash in Paris, and fans were so elated with this that naturally WWE decided to ditch the special set for WrestlePalooza and go straight back to the standard screen. One thing is for sure, presentation really matters in wrestling, and Vince McMahon often realized that. One of the most exciting parts about ordering a pay-per-view in the 2000s was wondering what the stage was going to look like. Whilst the show sometimes wouldn't deliver, the stages would often leave a lasting impression on fans, as there was true art and effort into what WWE were producing. Where is the line here? When does WWE and TKO wake up and realize that things need to change? There are so many problems with the business practices that they're implementing, as well as the product itself, and it's possible that change will only come when fans act with their wallets. What do you guys think of the current WWE product? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.